And within heaven, how do we picture it to ourselves? This is where, a little digression could be useful. I've often said to my classes, if you think about heaven the way that it gets depicted in cartoons, it looks like an incredibly boring place that really nobody would want to go to, except for people who are desperate for living on, or people who really like sitting around in clouds with harps and wings and halos and all that other sort of accoutrements. I was going to say nonsense, but maybe some people believe in that sort of thing. Heaven can be understood in much more robust ways, and in Christianity, which is really what Hegel's focusing on here in the West, depictions of heaven really were quite well worked out. You could think of, Dante's Divine Comedy as an example, or all the great iconography of the Divine Liturgy taking place in heaven, or all these depictions within writings of theologians about what heaven is going to be like. They're none of that namby-pamby stuff. It's all a depiction of being with other people and being able to truly be with other people, where your wills aren't contradicting each other because you're all willing, things that are harmonious. So he says here, the departed self must unite with its universality. He says, if consciousness, self-consciousness, reason, and spirit belong to self-knowing spirit in general, similarly, the specific shapes which were specifically developed within consciousness, self-consciousness, reason, and spirit belong to specific shapes of self-knowing spirit. So, nothing really that surprising in there. At each of the points, we can call them gestalts, we can call them dynamics, and this kind of answers the question of, well, what good is the phenomenology, given that history didn't end as Hegel was going to claim, and some of the other things might seem to be kind of arbitrary at times. Well, each of them is a shape and a way in which spirit is actual within the world, so it's worth studying them. And this is a bit of a side note, but here, Hegel's also, in a way, addressing the question of, well, why should we do comparative religion? And, why should we study, if there is some sort of consummate religion that we're going to talk about, as Hegel does think, why should we study all this previous stuff? Should it be a triumphal, well, in the beginning there were the animists, and then there were, these polytheists, and then we got to henotheism, and then we got to, monotheism, and that was really great, and then it was revealed in different ways. First Judaism, and then Christianity. Well, Islam happened afterwards, but we're not going to worry about that, or let alone Sikhism. And this sort of I use the word triumphalistic. It means where you're saying the religious comportment and understanding that we have, this is the best. All the other stuff is leading up to it or veering off from it, and there's a nice developmental picture there. We can also do comparative religion in other ways, and this is not exactly what Hegel is advocating. He is, saying Christianity, and specifically Protestant Christianity, is, at the apex of development. And to be honest, his treatment of other religions is kind of sketchy. But there's possibilities for something like a Hegelian, against Hegel, comparative treatment of things, where we would look at each religion as being a way in which spirit has in some way manifested itself. And we could still preserve a higher and lower or, development thing. We would just say, well, there isn't just only one single developmental path. All right, so digression ended back to this. So he says, so coming back to this, what does this notion of religion give us? Well, he says, religion here is to begin with immediate. Immediate, meaning unmediated, right? Unmittelbar. So we have to sketch out the mediations. And as a matter of fact, this is a little bit of a digression, but when Hegel talks about something being immediate, by now okay, there's always more to the story. So there's really two sides to this that work together. Part of it is uncovering the structures where there is mediation going on, where something is not so cut and dried as it appears at the beginning, but like I said, there's more to the story. There's other things happening, and now we make those evident. The other thing is sometimes we introduce mediation as well. So as the phenomenologist, we can be witnessing mediation. We can also be, as the phenomenologist, watching the agency, seeing somebody introduce mediation, and these play off of each other. And so this is going to be quite important.